So I'm not really going in order. I'm just picking random exercises I see people mess up. And I was just thinking, dumbbell press. People fuck this up all the time. So they screw this one up a lot. So I'm going to do it. And when I'm going to do it on a standard. It's not going to be extra standard. It's going to be a flat bench. But we here actually have like a fat pad, they would call it. Depends on the brand, but this is a Titan. And it's not a fat pad, but it's the same idea. It's extra thick. It's a little wider. It's like laying on a small sofa, but it gives you a lot of support. So what I like about it is it saves your shoulders. So if you have any kind of shoulder issues, they're already there, any kind of pre-existing injuries, this gives you more support. If you're naturally a smaller person, if you're like, a smaller woman, or you're just a more narrow guy with smaller shoulders, this might be a little tougher because as you come down, your triceps might end up hitting the actual bench. For me, being wide and everything, it doesn't bother me at all. But just something to think about. So I'm going to use this right now. I'm going to grab 25s. Okay. So same thing. I'm going to get this. I'm going to kick it back. I go together like that. Now, same thing. You put your feet on the ground. I like to keep them up. Some people put them on the ground. But so if they're here, what I would do is I kick it back, and instantly I keep my shoulders back. I try to keep my shoulders basically dug into the bench, and I try to keep my chest arched up. Now, I'm not saying ridiculous, I'm not saying like really, I'm not that flexible anyway, but extremely arched like you see some of the female powerlifters do, which makes sense for their sport. They're just trying to get the weight up and make it touch your chest. So they don't care if it moves, if the bar travels or the dumbbells or whatever travel like, 2 inches. But for our purpose, you just want a good arch, but not too ridiculous. Dumbbells are going to be here, not up here. Now, if you look, they're not up here. I don't want them up here crossed from my shoulders, because this is called the shoulder destroyer. Most people do this when they bench. First off, we'll do everything totally wrong. So most people, their shoulders are not tucked. They're going to be right here. They're just sitting here. Dumbbells are super wide out here, elbows flared, and they're doing this, right? And you see it all the time. Now at the very end, they'll come up. It even hurts my shoulder just showing you this. And they'll come up at the top to get the touch. See, look at my shoulders. They're doing this shit. They lift off. Now, I don't know what this is. This is definitely not working your chest. This is a clavicle exercise. There's a lot of clavicle training happening here. So what you want to do realistically is you tuck them, and you want your arms slightly on an angle. You want your elbows down, just like you're doing a barbell bench press. If you're going to do it right, you're going to have your elbows tucked. Now, I'm not saying you can come down here with this, but they're going to be not up here. They're not going to be all the way down. They're going to be about halfway. So on a slight angle down. And the dumbbells are going to be slightly on an angle because it's unnatural to keep them square. So shoulders back, chest out, and you come up. And out. And you come up. Now you notice at the top I'm not doing this because this just fucks up my dumbbells. It makes me want to throw you out. It doesn't do anything. It's not helping you. It's not helping me. It's not helping anyone. Don't do this. I don't care what gym you're at. Don't do this. It's just going to make the gym owner upset. This doesn't do anything. So come down and you go here. In fact, when you see people doing this, it's usually someone in their 40s who've been training for 20 years and they don't look any different than they did 20 years ago because they don't know what they're doing. So if you're not changing every year, you're doing something wrong. It's something to keep in mind. You should always be progressing, constantly, or you're doing something wrong. Unless you have like an injury or there's an illness or something, we understand. But if you're trying to progress, you should always be somewhat progressing. So anyways, arms here, dumbbells at a slight angle, they come around. Basically what you're doing is you're incorporating your chest, and then you're constantly flexing it, getting tension, and up. Down, up. Now I'm actually going to drop this. It's starting to get heavy because I have to do this tomorrow. Down and up. Now what you'll see, you see my arms are on an angle. They're not here. This is all shoulder. And also I'm not lifting my shoulders off. People do that to get the last inch. It doesn't do anything. Shoulders back. and you're here. This is more natural. Not here, not up, right here. And you're here. Now, if you watch, my pec is coming here and it's going out and around. This is chest. The idea is to constantly keep tension on the chest. As time goes on, you're going to get heavier. You're going to use heavier weights. But in the meantime, it's just here to here, and you're trying to keep tension. You're not trying to just fire it up just to get the heavier weight. You can do that, but then you're going to incorporate more triceps, more shoulders, everything else to try to get the weight up. You're trying to work on your chest, your bodybuilding. We're not powerlifting. We're not training for pass blocking in football. We're just going here. So you've got your lats dug in, and you're coming here. You're not trying to work your back like a lot of powerlifters work on their lats and their upper back to increase their bench because they're incorporating their lats and everything into it. We're not trying to do that. We're trying to build a chest. We don't give a shit how strong we are. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's true. If you want to do both, that's fine, but you're never going to be that great at either one. You have to really, focus on one or the other. You can incorporate some strength, but not while you're trying to do bodybuilding. It's two separate programs. So get your elbows back, flex your chest. Flex your chest. And the reason I keep saying this is because too many people, I think, don't get the flex. They're just pressing it up. That's why you see the dumbbells clank, because they're just moving it and they're incorporating their triceps. So it's just, if you do this too, and when you're doing it, same thing with the wrists. Cock them back a little bit, and you're pressing here, and you're going to feel it more in your chest. It's funny, but when you're up here and you see people doing this, very little chest is being activated. It's all shoulder. Maybe people think they're doing their upper pec. You're not. There's way better ways to do it. What you're doing is here, and that's also why you're coming on a slight angle. You're not up here. This is the whole chest. You're not going to be able to lift as much doing this, maybe at first, as you could if you've been doing it this way the whole time. But once you get those elbows here and you're really focused, you keep your shoulders back, dug in, chest arched, over time you're going to be even stronger than you were the other way. Just because you're going to have bigger, stronger muscles, you're naturally going to get bigger and stronger. The goal is not, like I said, just to move the most weight. It's going to come from hypertrophy. So pretty straightforward. I feel like a lot of people don't do that one right. I feel like it turns into a chest, more of a shoulder exercise for most people, or a tricep thing. I know I keep reiterating it, but I see a lot of people just worrying about numbers. And I'm a big fan of progressive overload. That's why I do DC stuff. Not all the time, but on occasion I did when I was in my 20s. I DC'd the shit out of it. And then I was one of the first people on the forums. I was 19 on those forums, cycling for pennies and all those things, talking about DC training. And I didn't totally understand it because I was chasing numbers, and you get stronger, didn't get that much bigger. Excuse me. Didn't really get any bigger. That came later in life with more reps and focusing on the muscle. Now when I incorporate DC stuff, the tempo's right. If I can't get it up with the right form, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to sacrifice form to get the number up. So I know it's a little tangent. We're supposed to be just talking about dumbbell press, but it's one of those things that I see too many people worrying about. I got progressive overload, progressive overload. It's like, yeah, but if your progressive overload sacrifices form, then who gives a shit about it? It doesn't do anything if you're trying to build muscle. If you want to get stronger, great. But then you should train like a powerlifter if that's what you're trying to do. But if you're trying to bodybuild, progressive overload can only go so far. You cannot just follow the logbook. You know what I mean? Form matters. You can't sacrifice it. So that's enough about this exercise. Let's move on to something else.